Okay, third time's a charm. We're live. Hopefully this time works. If not, I'm not gonna put John through this extended BS because he's a very busy man and his time is very precious. So, appreciate everyone sharing and staying with me on this one because this is really important information. Yes, LOL, Nick. Yeah, and this is why I need you folks to get joined with me here, because if it's just me doing all this stuff here, it's never going to work, okay? We need people like you folks out there, the smart people, the beautiful people, the interesting people, the tech-savvy people, the people that are savvy with their hands. We need all types, all different people involved in this, because I can't do this, as you can obviously see, which is glaringly obvious to anybody out there, by myself. What's up, Josh? Trying to get John Kiriakou on here. I've been having all sorts of problems today. Yes, Elise, let's try this again. So we did have John earlier. Let's see, I'm going to send him an invite again. John, if you're watching, let's see if we can go ahead and get you in here. Let's see. Interesting. Let's see. So yeah, I was trying to do this earlier on all these different platforms, try to work it out on YouTube. I also don't have a computer that has the processing power to be able to do this, like with a whole bunch of different screens and so forth. So I'm working on that, but I'm working full time and I'm doing all this in my free time, and I'm not Rockefeller, I'm not George Soros. So if you guys want to go to my Patreon, help me out there, Patreon.com/Demand the Truth. If not, YouTube.com/Demand the Truth, Facebook Demand the Truth, Instagram Demand the Truth, on Twitter @Will_Turbit, TURBITT. And like I said earlier, I need people that are willing to be peaceful, to take action, to be an activist, just to be a body, to share information, to edit information, to create barbecues, to create park community cleanups, to get in the face of these politicians, to email these politicians. We need to find out what's going on with all these missing children, 800,000 missing children in this country. So I'm going to try again to get John Kiriakou here with me. If anybody figure this out, I do not know what is going on. It's so funny. I've had so many problems in the past before. I'm not saying it's some kind of, big plot against anybody, but it has been chronicled. It has been showcased that people that are, whether they're on the left or the right, giving information that goes against the grain, they get censored one way or another. I have an entire file of just screenshots of things saved. Oh, can't listen, can't share, has no audio, can't comment, it's blocked, this and that, can't see your event, can't see this. So we've been having all these sorts of problems. When I was first working with Doc Marquis, rest in peace to Doc Marquis, it was so weird. We had Skype problems that were so crazy. That's when I first got this $200 laptop, and it was brand new like a year or two ago. Crap laptop, but it was brand new, and we had Skype, and I brand new. And it says, hey, you can't access your camera because another app is in. There's no other apps running. Nothing going on. The censorship's crazy. It's been exposed by Facebook, co-founders of Facebook. Google employees have come forward. Project Veritas have done videos. There have been other undercover videos. YouTube has leaked documents. There's been people from YouTube that have come out. It's all there. It's all black and white. And it's funny because They do have these algorithms that go on, and every time I have my own page, it says boost unavailable when on Demand the Truth on Facebook. I can't boost anything. There's nothing that I can boost on my page. There may be like one or two things. Why can't I boost my stuff if I wanted to? Why can't I pay a couple bucks here or there to boost my post? It's unavailable. And it's just crazy. Now it's gotten really, really crazy because on YouTube, I was looking up, there's certain things on YouTube. I'll take Seth Rich, for example. Find this very interesting. Seth Rich, or there's some other topics too, but I definitely remember Seth Rich. I know there's a few others. But if you go onto YouTube and watch a video about Seth Rich, or another one is geoengineering, it'll say contrails, right at the bottom of the video. Let's just say I did a video right now about Seth Rich and geoengineering, right? And I put that up on YouTube. It would say below the video, it would say whatever I named it. Will Turbot talks about geoengineering Seth Rich, and below it on YouTube, it will say, it'll have the Wikipedia entry, which will say the Seth Rich murder, Seth Rich, and it'll give you the official story of Seth Rich or the official story of contrails, which is interesting because now they've fully admitted that contrails and geoengineering is a thing. We've had real scientists talk about this. There's conferences every year going back several years on geoengineering, and MIT, the New York Times, CBS News have all reported. Kiriakou, that astrophysicist dude, they've all talked about it. Geoengineering is a fact. It's a real thing that's going on. Maybe that's what's causing climate change. I don't know. Or they'll say contrails. This is the official story. And the funny thing is, too, and I've seen some YouTubers do videos where, and it looks like we're going to miss John, unfortunately. So I'll cover a few things here, and I'll check some comments from you folks and read into it. But I want to get into this point, right? And I was also talking to Dale from Demand the Truth about this earlier today too. And it's tough because I have to constantly uninstall and install Messenger all the time. And then I'll click on one of my Messenger messages, and it'll be like the text of somebody with somebody else's face on it, and it'll be like two messages merged in one. So it's really crazy. But so anyways, so there have been YouTubers that have showcased, right? They'll do a video on a particular topic, right? And they'll type in their video on the topic, or they'll just type in the topic. And all the things that come up, like when it comes to Seth Rich, it's all, or the Russia investigation, it's all government-approved thing. Now, I'm not saying that's real or not, that's good or not, but it's only what's approved. And so the independent YouTubers, the people that are not on the left or the right, or maybe they are, but they're just not controlled by the large corporations like Fox and MSNBC and these same global elite, then they get their, like, there's one I watched. This dude had, like, I don't know, like close to 1 million or 100,000 views on his video, which is by far the most on that subject. And what happens is you see CBS, NBC, Fox, blah blah blah, 2 pages, 3 pages later. It's not until 3 pages later that you see that person's video, and that person's video has way more views than all the mainstream crap combined, but they still ban that person's page and give you the official story. So there's no, and even if the official story is right, and I'm not saying the official story in every case is right or wrong, right? But no matter what, we should all have the right to be able to question that. We should all be able to have the right to question that official story. So that's just a fundamental right. I guess I'm just going to go to the chat. Unfortunately, things did not work out. I tried twice with John Kiriakou. I'm going to reschedule and get him back on the show. I'll go back and change the name of this video so I'm not like clickbaiting anybody. But I do have some really awesome past interviews with John Kiriakou, which I will point to you right now. You can go to my YouTube channel, YouTube.com/Demand the Truth, and I have a great one. I have a couple there, but the latest one that I did is really, really cool. I talk about child trafficking, what's really going on in the CIA, Gina Haspel, and I have a whole bunch of questions I wanted to ask him today right here written down. And, oh, John Kiriakou is watching right now, and it looks like the green screen is there. Okay, John, let's see if we can send you a request. Add. Boom. Oh my goodness, I was just about to wrap it up, and it looks like he's going to be able to join us. This would be brilliant. He's adding, so let's bear with me, because like I said, my connection here, my YouTube internet connection.
Hey. Does it work?
Yes, it's working. Great.
I can hear you.
All right. So, I know you're very busy guy. We've tried this a few times. I'm gonna just do a few. Give you the floor. What do you want to give your background, and then we'll cover my question.
Sure. I'm John Kiriakou. I'm a 15-year CIA veteran, first in analysis, then in counterterrorism operations. Later on, chief investigator with the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. I blew the whistle on the CIA's torture program in December 2007. After many years of investigation, I was finally arrested for it in 2012, charged with 5 felonies, 3 counts of espionage, all of which were dropped. I hadn't committed espionage, but I did take a plea to a lesser charge just to make the thing go away. I spent 23 months in a federal prison for it, but came out unrepentant and more active than ever. And I've been kind of, I've been speaking out, writing about torture and human rights and civil liberties since I got home. So that's about it, right? So far.
Yeah. And how's the audio? Maybe turn the volume down a little bit on your side. I think on both sides. But I've asked you a bunch of questions before, and everybody back and see some of the previous stuff on my YouTube channel. Guys, if you guys comment on the audio getting any better than this one, back on. And I appreciate you sticking with me here, John. And I'm going to figure out a better savvy way to work this out for next time because load of problems. All right. One of the things I will start with is we've heard some news reports now that Epstein was potentially an intelligence asset. And I've brought up the child trafficking aspect before. The intelligence agencies, the FBI is obviously different than the CIA. But if you speak again to not just the CIA, but maybe all the intelligence agencies and the FBI, and what's really going on here? Because people have speculated for a long time, and now it looks like mainstream media and people are reporting this intelligence. That's why nobody touched it. Is this guy an isolated event?
That's a great question. I think there are 2 separate issues here. First, let's talk about child trafficking. Actually, I'm going to raise my phone if you don't mind. It'll be a little bit easier. There, that's better. So first, let's talk about child trafficking. I never encountered any child trafficking in my career at the CIA other than at the United Nations. There was well-documented child trafficking in the former Yugoslavia in the late 1990s, early 2000s, on the part of UN officials there and Americans who were Defense Department contractors, people from Raytheon, for example. And those cases were prosecuted. I never encountered child trafficking at the CIA, but I have talked about it in hypothetical terms as an ethical issue that the CIA really does not train its employees in. And so the hypothetical question that I've raised in speeches, and this has been misconstrued a number of times, CIA officer blows the whistle on pedophilia. That wasn't true. The truth was that it's not uncommon at all to get prostitutes, for example, for a source that you have or a source that you're developing. Your job is to deal with people that you might normally consider to be scumbags, but that's what you do for a living, and presumably they're providing information that's important to the national security. With that said, what do you do when a source asks you for a child prostitute? Well, the obvious answer is you absolutely would never, ever, under any circumstances, try to procure a child for a source, ever. But there's no actual rule. Your job as a CIA officer is to break the law, break many laws of the countries that you're working in. And, some guys are a little too gung-ho. They're cowboys. They do things that they don't report back to headquarters. And so I would venture to guess that there have been incidents where CIA officers have procured children. I don't have any proof of that at all, but I would say it probably has happened. So that's the first thing. The other thing is Jeffrey Epstein. Boy, I have followed this case with great, great interest. and I am the least conspiracy-oriented person that I know, and I take a lot of shit for it. On
I know.
Facebook.
I try to lead you with all these questions all the time, but it doesn't work.
From when we first met, as a matter of fact. But if I had to bet money, I would say that Jeffrey Epstein is probably an intelligence asset. And if I had to bet more money, I would say he's probably an Israeli intelligence asset. It wouldn't make any sense to me for him to be working for any American service. Just because American services, and when I say American services, I mean really the FBI, because it's the only one that's legally authorized to operate in the United States, they wouldn't need to recruit an asset like Jeffrey Epstein in order to collect information on targets or potential targets. The Israelis, however, would need exactly that. They would need somebody who's well-placed in that society, who either already has money or is willing to take their money in order to give them access to circles that they otherwise wouldn't have access to. And so I would, again, I have no inside information, but I would say that Jeffrey Epstein's behavior fits the pattern of an Israeli intelligence asset.
I wanted to also just briefly follow up on that question too, because thank you guys for letting me know why it was much better. What do you think it says in general that Epstein, Casey, Johnny Depp, Prince Andrew, Clinton, all these other people, to me, that's just wow. What do you think that says to society? I mean, that kind of blows the paradigm a little bit. Do you think that at all?
Yeah, honestly, I think it says that we all have kinks, and sometimes there's somebody out there who writes down your kinks, and then they lose their black book, and that's the situation that we're in now. I'll tell you, I'm dying to see an unredacted version of that black book. The black book was published in, I think it was BuzzFeed, but it was very heavily redacted, and it says things like Courtney Love, and then there's a whole page under Courtney Love that's blacked out. It's like, what the heck did Courtney Love, what was Courtney Love doing in that mansion?
Also, a lot of initials too, that we can only speculate as to who they were.
Oh yeah, we really only know but a small fraction of the information that apparently has already been collected by law enforcement. So yeah, I mean, this is a potential blockbuster of a story, and I'm frankly a little bit surprised that there haven't been any leaks yet.
Okay, so now another question. I'm going to ask my question as quickly as possible. My audio is pretty horrible, but yours is pretty well. So you were recruited out of college. It was a college class. If you could speak to that, and then just kind of go over that story again. But, you know, is it only happening in academia? Do you think it's maybe happening in Hollywood or someone candidate for president?
Oh, tough questions. Yeah, the way I was recruited is frankly not legal anymore. It's been illegal since passage of the Equal Employment Opportunity Act in 1993, but it goes on unofficially right now. So the way I was recruited was I was taking a course in graduate school called The Psychology of Leadership. It's a long story, and I know we have a lot of questions, so I'm going to keep it very short. As it turned out, well, I loved this class. I loved the professor. He loved me. I wrote a paper that caught his attention, and he pulled me into his office and he said, look, I'm not really a professor here. I'm a CIA officer undercover as a professor here. I'm acting as what's called a spotter, he said. I'm looking for people who might fit into the CIA's culture. Would you be interested in working for the CIA? I said, yes. This was 1988. And I said, yes. I went through a battery of tests just like everybody else did. The polygraphs, the medical, the psychological, the background investigation. I had to do everything that everybody else did, but he kicked me to the front of the line, and I made it in. Now, you can't do that since 1993, but the way the CIA gets around that is they've established these positions all over America called the scholar in residence positions. So they take these pre-retirement officers, people who've been in for 28 years, 25, 30, 32 years, whatever. They have one more 3-year tour before retirement, And they end up just making them a visiting professor at 100, 150 universities around the country, right? Everything from Harvard to Florida State and everything in between. And what they're supposed to do is to teach classes on intelligence, or the various aspects of intelligence. I have a friend who had one of these positions at Indiana University, and he taught courses in literature of Soviet espionage, for example, stuff like that. And that's all fine and good, but the truth is that while they're teaching these classes, they're also evaluating students. That's what they've been trained to do. That's what they've been doing for 30 years. They can't help themselves. And so what they'll do now is unofficially, they'll approach students and say, hey, listen, I think you might have a future at the CIA. You might want to apply. Here's the number. You should call it. So it's not a formal official program like it used to be, but it's still happening. Hollywood is different. They don't actively recruit Hollywood people. They don't need to. Hollywood people volunteer, right? Every Hollywood guy, every actor wants to be or wants to have been a CIA officer. Just like every CIA officer is dazzled by the stars and the glittering lights in Hollywood. And so the CIA's Office of Public Affairs has created a branch inside that office to deal only with Hollywood, only in the production of movies and television series. That's all these people do. It's something that the FBI had been doing since the late 1940s. That's why every show on TV that was about the FBI was pro-FBI, because that was the quid pro quo. Well, the same thing is happening with the CIA. The CIA reaches out to all these studios. The studios reach back out to the CIA. I can't tell you how many times when I was at the CIA, I would be walking down the hall, going to the cafeteria, going to a meeting, and here comes Ben Affleck. Here comes Leonardo DiCaprio, just walking down the hall like they own the place. And it's because they've been given that kind of access. And it's because the CIA wants, just like the FBI wants, to be portrayed only in a positive fashion. That's why Zero Dark 30, which was a gigantic lie of a movie, was filmed. Mike Morrell, who was the acting director of the CIA at the time, briefed Catherine Bigelow and Mark, I forget his name, the writer, briefed them over a classified mock-up of the bin Laden compound. He gave them classified briefings on the bin Laden kill operation. Well, that's a violation of the Espionage Act. That's a felony. That's against the law. But they did it. And there was no fallout from it, and they continue to do it.
So, I guess briefly follow up to my question. Do you think the CIA or any other intelligence possibly infiltrated? I remember Jesse Ventura talking about when he was in Venezuela, he was backed down by the CIA agents. What's your take on that? Do you have any CIA agents in the 2020 field?
I think it's possible. I know Jesse Ventura very well. I consider him to be a friend of mine, and I know him to be as completely honest as the day is long. And if Jesse says it, I believe it. I don't have any personal experience in that area myself, but if he says it, I'm sure he's telling the truth.
Yeah, and by the way, if anybody look up Will Sass, does a great impression of him, like, I'm in the Baja, I'm next aisle with the cornbread to fly on. He did really good. I have a few more questions. What's on your radar? And I will go and plug your after the fact to check about what's on your radar right now. What are the things that you're looking at?
There are a couple of things, three things that I'm looking at. I'm for whatever reason, I'm laser focused on Venezuela. I just think that we are violating so many laws, both domestic and international, in this relentless pursuit of the overthrow of the Venezuelan government that it's utterly scandalous. So it's something that I'm following closely. I'm worried about hostilities with Iran. We are working so hard to provoke the Iranians, and they're not taking the bait. And I'm of the personal belief that John Bolton and Mike Pompeo are such dangerous figures in government right now that they won't even remain clandestine in their provocation of the Iranians. I'm afraid that they'll just go public with it, and we'll find ourselves in another war of choice. I'm always focused on prison reform and sentencing reform and mandatory minimums and stuff like that. I write about that kind of thing all the time. And as crazy as it sounds, Donald Trump's on the right side of this issue. And the only reason he is because Jared Kushner's father is a convicted felon and spent 14 months in prison. So they know how deranged our justice system is. As crazy as it is, Barack Obama did a little. He did a little for mandatory minimums, the 2-point reduction in mandatory sentencing. Donald Trump's gone a little farther. Now, there are some really great bills out there that have already been passed in the Democratic House, and they're just sitting in a giant stack on Mitch McConnell's desk, probably never to see the light of day. But at least the White House is saying the right things.
Yeah, so I guess my next question. You talk a little bit about I was going to ask you about Pompeo as well, and I know you know Haspel. Briefly talk about your interaction with Kerry, work hard on their actions thus far, and if you want to speak to Pompeo.
Yeah, I don't like or trust Mike Pompeo. I think that I think he's not cut out for diplomacy. He wasn't a terrible CIA director. I suppose he had a little bit of intelligence experience. He was a graduate of West Point. He sat on the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, so he had a little bit of background. Not to say that I agreed with him. I certainly didn't agree with him on a lot of policy. But Gina Haspel has very clearly proven that that she's not worthy of the country's trust. Gina Haspel has admitted in open hearing on Capitol Hill that she was instrumental in the creation and, worse than that, the implementation of the torture program. I wrote a piece earlier in the summer about Gina well after her appointment. She had already been in the position for 13 or 14 months. But at Guantanamo, the Guantanamo courts ordered the declassification of 22,000 pages of transcripts related to the military hearing, the military detention hearing of Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, the mastermind of the 9/11 attacks. And buried in these 22,000 pages was an admission that after Gina left the secret prison that she headed in 2002, she went on to Guantanamo, and she was the CIA base chief in Guantanamo. We never knew that. That was never raised in the Senate Intelligence Committee in her confirmation hearings. No senator asked about it. I don't know if it was because it was classified at the time or if she kept it from them. But this is a woman who's very well schooled in torture and in sort of the dark arts of the CIA. This is exactly the kind of person that we ought not to have leading the CIA.
All right, so just for our audience, I'm going to wrap this up with one final question or question, and I can email you the next time and we can set it up for this one way or another. But appreciate the audience for being with me. Well, if you could tell people the best way to get in touch with you, you could go over your book real quick, and how to purchase that too, and then any solutions you might want to give people to this all. Because I know it's really tough.
It's tough. Well, first of all, thank you. I'm on Facebook 2 ways. John Kiriakou. I think I've got like 5 friend slots left before I hit 5,000. And you can also follow me, John C. Kiriakou. So there are 2 pages. How else? I've got a website, johnkiriakou.com. It's got a contact me page. It dumps right to my email if you want to get in touch with me. I've got 3 books that are out and still available on Amazon. The first one was The Reluctant Spy, My Secret Life in the CIA's War on Terror. That was that actually made number 5 on the New York Times bestsellers list when it came out in 2010. My second book, Doing Time Like a Spy, How the CIA Taught Me to Survive and Thrive in Prison, won the Penn First Amendment Award and the Forward Review's Memoir of the Year. That's also available both hardback and paper. And The third book, the Convenient Terrorist, is the inside story about Abu Zubaydah that I wrote with a friend of mine who guarded Abu Zubaydah at Guantanamo. So I wrote half and he wrote half. And I'm just about done with a book on Iran right now that I'm writing with Gareth Porter, noted historian. Be on the lookout for 3 more books in the next year. The CIA Insider's Guide to Surveillance and Surveillance Detection, the CIA Insider's Guide to Lying and Lie Detection, the CIA Insider's Guide to Disappearing and Living Off the Grid. So those will be in the next year.
Cool. Well, unfortunately, my audio is a little messed up. We'll fix it for the next time around. I appreciate your time as always. And please, folks, go out there, purchase his book. This guy put his entire life on the line for his country. He sacrificed it all, only to be the only person to go to jail for crimes he didn't commit. So please support this person. He's a true American hero. We wouldn't be even where we are now. We are now. So thank you again, John.
Thank you, Will.